Hey everyone, Pete Byrne, WSBT-22 Sports, joined by Tyler James of blueandgold.com. Tyler, we are finally able to say that the Irish have a winning record. It took 5 games, but they're now sitting at 3-2. And as they get ready to play another game here at home at Notre Dame Stadium this week, they welcome NC State as they get back into the ACC portion of their schedule. What do we know about NC State, a team that Notre Dame's played a handful of times over the years, but it's been a little while?
Yeah, NC State has a pretty decent offense, a good quarterback who's capable of running the football. C.J. Bailey, he wants to throw and is willing to throw and spreads the ball around quite a bit to his wide receivers. And they have a very dynamic running back, Hollywood Smothers, who breaks a lot of runs. He's one of the more elusive running backs in college football. And so Notre Dame will have plenty to focus on in terms of trying to figure out how to stop NC State's offense. NC State's defense, not as great. So it's sort of a continuation of what Notre Dame's been dealing with. I think Boise State's offense is better than its defense. I think Arkansas's offense is better than its defense. And I think we'll see probably the similar story here with NC State's offense being better than its defense.
And if that is the case and that kind of becomes the key matchup, I think we can say that finally Notre Dame's defense is trending in the right direction.
Yeah, I think so. I think Notre Dame's defense, you couldn't really ask much more of what they did on Saturday. A very strong performance against Boise State, shutting down their sort of three-headed running attack and giving the quarterback all kinds of fits, whether it's with pressure or forcing interceptions. So the defense probably is as confident as it's been all season long based off of that performance, and getting some guys back, Leonard Moore back in the lineup certainly makes a big difference, and feels like the front seven is doing a much better job of pressuring the quarterback.
Yeah, that's something that Eric and I are going to talk about a little bit, and particularly how much better the linebacker play has been of late. But we just heard Marcus Freeman say that they are a different football team when Leonard Moore is on the field.
Yeah, I mean, he can sort of take out a side of the field when he's out there. I'm not sure why Boise State threw at him as many times as it did. Maybe they're like, well, he's coming back from an injury. Maybe he's not as good as he normally is, but he was as good as he's been all season. So, yeah, Leonard Moore can really hold down whatever opponent Notre Dame wants to line him up with. I'm curious as the season moves on if they try to match him up with the opponent's best receiver. I think maybe that's not something we see in the NC State game. Maybe that's something we see with Mekhi Lemon of USC in a couple weeks. So Leonard Moore certainly helps your defense in a lot of ways and takes some pressure off of that secondary.
And on the other side of the ball, if we're going to be critical, it's probably the least impressive performance from the offense. Overall, they still ran the ball very, very well, but a lot of uncharacteristic penalties. They got themselves in poor situations. And Marcus Freeman talked about, the need to clean up the unnecessary penalties.
Yeah, penalties will put you in unfortunate situations, whether it's second and long, third and long, and Notre Dame dealt with that. They still moved the ball pretty well. Like, the yardage is fine. They had a couple fourth down turnover on downs, the 4th and goal at the 1 yard line, and then the 4th and 8 that C.J. Carr should have had a touchdown pass on if he throws it more accurately. So that could have been a 42-point game pretty easily, even with all those penalties. So I think there's plenty to still like from what the offense is doing, but also plenty to clean up. They got to make sure that they're not committing false starts or holding or doing different things that are setting them back and making their jobs harder.
Yeah, the pre-snap stuff is definitely hard to tolerate. The other thing that came up today, and one of the other things that came up today, is the kicking game. I mean, it's clear that they don't quite have a solution for what to do with Burnett injured, and it's something that Marcus Freeman says he needs to get to the bottom of this week. But it was clear last week they don't have a confidence in the second option. How concerned are you at this point?
Yeah, I think you got to be concerned. The fact that you wouldn't attempt field goals in that game sort of signifies the lack of confidence there. It sounded like from Marcus Freeman's comments that they want to make a decision this week and say, okay, let's stop having Eric Schmidt and Marcello Diomede battle each week to be the number 2 kicker. Let's make a decision. Let's build up their confidence, and so we can have some trust in them to be able to do that. I think this would be a good week for them to get out there and see some kicks go through the uprights. Granted, if Noah Burnett is not right, I think they got to figure out the right amount of workload that they can give to Noah Burnett, because he's been in and out of the lineup, and I think that makes it even more difficult to sort of have a solid backup option, because that person doesn't know if they're playing or not on a weekly basis.
Yeah, but I would argue that maybe that's all the more important that you need to have them, because it might be a situation this year where some weeks Burnett can go, some weeks he can't, or some weeks he can go, and then mid-game he can't. Right. So whoever number 2 ends up being, it's got to be a guy you can trust.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think there's only so much you can try to do in a practice situation to mimic making field goals in Notre Dame Stadium or making field goals on the road. So they have to get those guys game reps, especially when Noah Burnett isn't playing. to let those guys sort of see it happen and believe in themselves.
All right. From an injury standpoint, it sounds like the Irish are close to getting Cooper Flanagan back. What does he bring to the offense?
Yeah, he was someone who really surged last season. He was very helpful in some goal line packages. I would imagine that would be something that Notre Dame would love to have him for, especially with some of their shortcomings in short yardage situations. But he can catch the ball too. He's a well-rounded tight end. So to get him back, take some pressure off of Ty Washington as the next tight end after Eli Raridan. We'll see to what extent Cooper Flanagan comes back and how soon they can give him more of a workload coming off of that Achilles injury. But when he gets back in his full go, that should be a definite add to the offense.
And then defensively, in the secondary, still a little banged up. Leonard Moore's back. That's great news, but they're still dealing with injuries back there.
Yeah, Devontae Smith, they've already declared out for this week, and so Dallas Golden will continue to play in the nickelback role. He played most of the game against Boise State this past weekend, so he's gotten some experience. He played against Purdue as well. That was his first career start, and so Dallas Golden is ascending in terms of what they want from him, but there's going to be even more of a workload put on him with knowing for sure that Devontae Smith can't go. Carson Hobbs moves back to be in the backup slot option after he started playing the slot or in the nickelback role in the season opener. So Notre Dame's got to make sure that Dallas Golden continues to grow and his confidence playing in that nickelback role.
And then lastly, before I let you go, Tyler, Notre Dame's now won 3 games in a row. We talked to Marcus Freeman a little bit today about momentum, something he acknowledges is real. He also says momentum alone doesn't win games. They have to go through the work. We know that. We don't need to. We've heard that. Yeah. We've heard that speech many, many times. But I think it's real, too. And after being put in a real tough spot after 2 weeks, I think we see this team not only trending in the right direction, but given what else is happening in college football, there should be a lot of belief in that locker room right now.
Yeah, when you say momentum to Marcus Freeman, I sort of expected him to say, well, you got to be able to handle success too, because those are sort of the things that he likes to rely on. And so, yeah, I think that momentum is real. I think this team is regaining the confidence that it probably entered the season with, and it would have been natural for that confidence to have been shaken with the first 2 games, the way they played out. Even though they were close games, Notre Dame came up on the losing end. And so to be able to build wins back-to-back, staying at home, I'm sure you'd probably get a little bit more comfortable, but also got to make sure you're staying sharp to make sure that you're not underestimating your opponent. And I don't think that's something that Notre Dame is doing. I don't think the 28-7 score against Boise State was an indication of Notre Dame maybe underestimating Boise State. I think penalties were just unfortunate, and they have to clean those things up and fix those things and keep rolling.
Second of 3 consecutive home games this weekend at Notre Dame Stadium. Not on network television this weekend, the only time all year that'll be the case, but you can watch the game on Peacock. You can also read a lot more about the Fighting Irish all week long with Tyler and his crew at blueandgold.com, and we'll have lots more on WSBT.com and WSBT News all week long. Thanks for being with us.
I'm Pete Byrne from WSBT-22 News. For more Notre Dame stories, like and subscribe to the WSBT-22 YouTube page. Thanks for watching.